far together with this squad. We'll see what they can do here in game number 5.
No change in bans for the last 3 games, but notice the Rise will be banned 3rd, if at all, on the blue side. The order does change, but we don't know if the picks themselves will change. And there it is. Kai'Sa is banned on red side, so we will not see the same blue and red side bans 4 games in a row.
Question is it Yasuo or Tahm Kench on the right side here for Gen G? Maybe you consider, oh, this guy's going to get Aatrox anyway. We're not going to ban that, so maybe not the Yasuo when we take away the Tahm Kench.
They're really debating here, Griffin, what they want to do with their final ban. Maybe even just using the time to anticipate the future. That seems more likely with the Rise banned anyway. You want as much time as possible to think about what 2 champions Gen G will claim in response to your first pick. And your first pick will not be the Aatrox, so what does that mean for Tahm Kench and Urgot priority?
It's a really big question. I mean, the Yasuo finally in Game 5 is available as well. The Urgot, though, seemingly too strong, especially with Aatrox taken off the board. I would not be surprised, and they do lock it in.
Good thing to mention about the Yasuo is it's not one of the 2 power picks for the red side, because while Crown played it in 2015 summer when he was new to the Korean scene, they don't really have Yasuo players on their side. So it's not like that's something that slides to them. They're going to be more interested in the Rakan, which they have been claiming basically every game after the first on the red side. What will they pair with it? They won't be taking the Tahm Kench after all, and it's just going to be the Lovers bot lane. So Griffin may end up with both power picks.
Take it early here. And that means that Gen G, they want to do a little bit of counter-picking, I suppose. Griffin have to show some cards here.
Now, you could just take Alistar, ignore the Tahm Kench. It only was a very late adaptation for Griffin right at the end of the season, and still have a playmaker. But your eyes are naturally drawn towards having a lot of power. They're actually going to go more towards, I was saying, ignore both and go to the Shen. Remember, the League of Lehends was around. His amazing Shen play.
Ooh.
But we're going to get a Vladimir bot lane most likely, and in the clutch in Game 5, I think the awesome dude is back.
It comes back now? This is so strange of a timing. Game 5 with everything on the line. They say, hey, how about Shen Vladimir? How does that sound? Well, I have some numbers for you guys, right? Vladimir, 7-0 for Viper. He has not lost a game. Shen, 7-3. He's pretty good on that pick as well.
So what you're saying is it's win rate time. How about a Trundle? 12 is a pretty big number too, Valdez. No jungler taken first round by either team is a big movement away. Galio going to be banned again. Where does Chovy go next? They've played a lot of Vladimir mid lane in Challenger, but that was rather before Chovy was actually able to play. He was a very big mid lane Vladimir player. So they have experience on that, but I'm thinking this is going to be Vladimir Shen bot lane. Let's just say that Vladimir Shen versus the Lovers bot lane is a disparity on paper. There's a lot of power on Gen G's side, and both Vladimir and Shen are waiting for the later game.
Hey, they finally banned Gragas. It took until Game 5 to say, hey, Haru's Gragas is pretty good. Let's take that away. Haru's like, yeah, okay, I'll just play Camille then. Aurelia is going to get banned here. I was thinking maybe Yasuo, but they're more scared of Aurelia into Zoe. It's very predictable when the portal jump comes back. You can line up the stun and an all-in from the Aurelia. So they just don't want to deal with that. Chovy's Aurelia also needs no introduction.
Camille going to be the final ban. There's some respect at Haru, who is undefeated on the Camille, the only top-flight Camille player, I would say, in Korea. So, jungle and top lane. Seems like top lane will be a counter pick unless we just see an Ornn or a blind tank matchup. They could last pick jungle, I guess. And it seems like they will last pick jungle. Which of Haru's aggressive picks will get through? We mentioned at the start, the table setting was it might be the 2 best Gnar players in Korea, and Cuvée in the clutch will take his Gnar.
Up against that Urgot, most likely the Urgot could go mid up against Zoe, but I suppose that will be revealed now by Griffin. 8 seconds left on a couple of picks. And the Yasuo showing its face, kind of obvious from that Zoe. And well,
most likely be mid lane as well for Chovy. He is the better of the 2, even though Viper had a win streak earlier in the season. He's been losing more recently, but won, of course, in the LCK final. Final pick here is going to be jungle The Sejuani fallback makes some sense, but I think it's time for Haru to go for a very aggressive pick.
What's it going to be? Oh, how about a Trundle? That's one way to say, hey, Tarzan, you won't play it. How about me? I'll play that pick. It's still pretty good.
Hard CC from the jungle was something we called for. We get it. Hard CC available from the support is something we called for. We'll get it. Kind of incredulous that Tom, Kench, and Alistair on 8-15 have fallen through the draft. But to me, I think it has to be, how do the awesome dudes work? They fall back on the Vladimir that he has not played in a very long time. It's been 7-0 since maybe even the first round robin. They fall back on it. How will it look against Gen G?
And remember, guys, this is Griffin. They have set in their heads there's a specific way to play the game. They pride themselves, CV Max, saying we are super smart. We know everything about the game. We can outsmart our opponents. And this is not just done on a whim. They went back into the room and they said, we are going to mix things up. They are going to play Xayah Rakan. What is our strategy? And, well, this is what they came up with. Shen, Vladimir. In the early game, not going to have too much fun up against Rakan and Xayah, but we'll eventually get to that really scary part. And Viper looking for his 8th win in a row on the Vladimir.
This game can go some dirty places teamfight-wise for Griffin as it goes on. If they close the gap, oh, the Wombo comes in, and goodbye, Zoe, goodbye, Gen G. But the cost is a lot of lanes in the early game look a bit flimsy. So I'm interested to see how this goes. A lot of flair from the side of Griffin and some balls as well to pick Vladimir Shen into Xayah Rakan.
Well, guys, the countdown is ready. It's game number 5. Who's going on to the next round? Is it Griffin or is it Gen G? Let's get into it now.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
Comes down to this, everybody's cheering for their respective teams, but also cheers afterwards. They just wanted a game 5. It's just about as good as it can get in here and in China, everywhere around the world. It's League of Legends time.
And these regional gauntlets just keep giving in Korea. Of course, the surprise double victors of Samsung Galaxy. In the past 2 years, we're seeing Gen G try to fight through. There's a real chance they take all 15 games to qualify for Worlds if they do make it to face Kingzone Dragon X on Sunday. But Griffin wants to stop that today. They want the defending champions to not be able to make it to the World Championship. Ruler on the Xayah does have one annoying thing to deal with. If you remember, way back to the first half of summer season, it's what's your first item? When you're against an awesome dude like a Vladimir, you want lifesteal to answer his life gain from Doran's shield and his Q. Xayah doesn't build Blade the Ruin King, so do you just build a Vamp Scepter or something like a Hex Drinker, then go into your standard build? We saw Deft of all things start Corrupting Potion on the Xayah in the past, so I'm very interested to see how Ruler sustains through what can be a frustrating laning phase, whether he has priority or not.
Definitely a important micro point down on the bottom side. I'm curious to see if Chovy is going to be unlocked in these last 2 games. He was chained on the Irelia, and his team fighting was fantastic. His team was too far behind for him to be able to do much. He got killed in game 3 due to Haru and his fantastic Gragas, but now he's on the Yasuo. It was banned 4 games in a row. And now they finally gave it to him. They banned the Aurelia instead. And can he actually do it? It's a good matchup into the Zoe. He carried on the Aatrox. He must be feeling really confident right now. It's just about, can he actually perform in game number 5?
I mean, at level 1, it's disaster for Shen and Vladimir. They can do nothing to Xayah Rakan. Level 2, he already showed Q did land, so obviously did not have Taunt at level 1. Level 2, there's some gimmicky all-in chances. I want to draw your attention to Summoners and also Keystones. Aftershock on Lahan's, Predator onto Viper, but they took Exhaust Ignite, something you can do with awesome dudes a bit more free. I don't need those teleports or heals as much. So they do have double combat Summoners to potentially turn around, especially if Sejuani's there for a gank.
They're going to be just chilling down the bottom side. If they can stay even on CS, that's going to be a win for them. And so far, it's looking like just that. Sejuani might just head down there to help them out, or maybe after level 6 like we saw in game number 4. But so far, Tarzan just pathing up towards the top side, where the Gnar, also the other champion we mentioned, new here in game 5, but we thought it would have been much more prolific. We would see it more often here in this one of Sword versus Cuvee, but the first time now coming out, Cuvee, the original gangster on this Gnar, trying to make a name for himself once again in game 5.
I think early levels, the Gnar will be very comfortable. The problem becomes is the moment he gets exhausted out of a Mega Gnar, if Urgot starts, then the base stats go away and the ult seems pretty academic to pick up kills. It could be very, very punishing as the matchup goes on with 2 items especially. I think Righteous Glory comes in and things get pretty terrifying for the Gnar in particular. When it comes to Yasuo, we always talk about knock-up synergy. Do remember that the Urgot has that situational knock-up with his E to complement the Q from Sejuani. It's not quite Malphite or Alistair, but there are some tools around to allow Chovy an engage. And, you know, based on game 4, who's to say he can't do it all himself like he's been able to in some of these clutch games?
Chovy definitely, as we mentioned, the youngest player. It's hard for, usually, for young players to come in and deal with all the stress and handle it and be the big carry, but the 2 guys here in Korea, Chovy and Yukal, the super young ones that just continuously show up in high-pressure situations, it's a good sign that we'll have more of these young kids that show up in rough spots in the future as well.
It's the new generation, right? It's what people are talking about with Griffin and Yukal and these young players who watched when they were very young some of their opponents and have formed their play around that. Speaking of forming play around, Haru is lying in wait here, but doesn't necessarily have the most priority for mid, so doesn't actually end up fighting. Thing that strikes me about Chovy is that crazy thing where I don't think he knows he should be, you know, off his game or he should be intimidated. And it's one of those things where maybe you just don't tell him. You know, that's the weird part is, should you tell him that actually he should be a little bit off, you know, you should be a little bit different? Or maybe you just lean into the fact that if he plays the same with his mouse and keyboard wherever he is, that's a pretty amazing trait to have.
I definitely say Chovy is the more innocent of the 2, right? Definitely.
Yukal's the, not trash talker, but I'm bringing the title for score.
Yeah.
I'm doing this. I'm going to do it. Whereas Chovy's like, wow, I just did my job.
You say, I'm a good player. I like League of Legends, and I just love playing with my friends every day. This is great. Yukal's like, I'm going to kill you.
If the power of friendship takes you to Worlds, hey, man, who am I to say anything?
Yeah, I love the fact that they have totally opposite personalities, basically. It's not opposite, but different, because they're both relatively positive and happy-go-lucky, I'd say. One a little bit more reserved than the other, but it's pretty cool. I like it. Don't forget about BDD. He has a lot more experience, but still very young, at least in the mid lane. I would say he's still part of that new era.
Viper, 2 months after his last Vladimir game, is going CS for CS with Zyra Khan. So you would say this lane's going incredibly better than expected, as Shen's support was rotated out of consideration among most teams in Korea for, well, the laning phase is a bit AFK outside of some gimmicky all-ins, so you can't run it. Those are the words pro players were using to me. It's not possible. So for him to bring it back in a game like this, and for them to go so competitive, credit to Viper and Lehens for leaning back on what worked in the past and making it work again on patch 8.15.
Yeah, Swit boots first with the Predator, did Viper, had 4 pots, only needed to use 1. Goes back by his cooldown boots and a big rod.
That's a nice purchase.
Yeah. It's needlessly large, and it has a lot of AP. It's going to begin doing a little bit more damage. You don't really see the Vladimir begin to pop off until, you know, level 9+, but still, the lane has been going well so far. I would expect it to continue to go well.
Working towards a Spellbinder for one of his engage items. We should, again, adjust our expectations for the game a bit, as it's all about getting the back timing here for Ruler. The reason why I say that is what it allowed Griffin for Viper to be playing Yasuo, Vladimir, and specifically the Vladimir is the big win rate champion, is he's the engager. He gets 2 items and he's ready to fight rather than waiting for his moment on Caitlyn that just never came 2 games in a row. As the Vladimir, he pops Predator, he rushes in and From there, he's able to start things that the rest of the members can end. So it's a different role for Viper, and one that he's shown a huge aptitude for earlier in the season.
Yeah. Another question that we haven't asked yet is Crown, after being pummeled in game number 4 by the Aatrox on the Vel'Koz, can he come back here on playing Zoe for the first time tonight and actually do well? I mean, this is a guy that's totally opposite his lane opponents, right? He has tons of experience. He's been on the world stage, final stage twice in a row. And, you know, he's dealt with it, the highs, the lows. He knows everything. Can he come in after game 4 and that poor performance and actually shut down Chovy?
Gotta say, Zoe's more often have been held in check rather than popping off in recent memory, and very hard to manufacture a lead in your own lane against Yasuo. It's very, very hard to get a solo kill onto Yasuo outside of, say, level 2-3 with a lucky pickup. So I think it's going to be a product of what happens around him. He's going to farm it out, show up with some magic penetration and Illudens, and then if his team's winning, you can definitely extend that lead. If his team's falling behind around him, it'll be very hard to manufacture a lead solo as the Zoe.
Well, looking to pick up first blood around the 10-minute mark here is the top jungle duo for Griffin. Tarzan waiting in the brush. Haru is nearby, but he runs right up to it. Can he land this? He's going to land on in. There's Sword, but the flash comes out of Cuvée. Nicely done. It was a kind of slow, steady engage, and he was able to flash away from it.
Felt like Sword and Tarzan went on the same page there. There was some orb warps back before the engage happened. After the W went wide from Tarzan. Not the most convincing, but they get a flash. They get a summoner out of Gen G, so still overall successful. Chovy sitting on 3 daggers, working towards his Phantom Dancer. Always hard to hit a skill shot on this man. Chovy is nothing if not slippery, whatever he's playing.
Yeah, he's definitely had his fun on Zoe. Irelia played a bunch of Orianna. We haven't seen that tonight. We aren't going to see it, maybe in the King Zone series up against BDD, but so far he's liking the much more aggressive picks. The Yasuo, Aatrox, Irelia, and the Zoe, of course.
A spot here that the Rift Herald has been started, but we see already Haru is well on to stealing away the Raptors. We'll see if they can get the Cloud Drake. They certainly are set up for first. Adamir, I don't think is going to be looking for anything too fancy, but you feel really good about trading a Rift Herald for a Cloud Drake if you're Griffin.
How about we try this again, says Tarzan. He does not have his ultimate just yet, but he can use that Rift Herald if he wants to begin the push.
They're walking up here.
Okay, gonna try to go for the kill, actually. Ignite comes in with that spell book, and well, he's getting super low. Nice ultimate, though, into the wall. The Shenels is not gonna be enough. First blood is gonna get there for Cuvée, and now Tarzan just on the run throws his ultimate just to survive at this point. We also got Haru coming up the river right now. Not sure if Tarzan can get away. Looks like he will, but a botched dive gives the first blood to Gen G.
Cuvée in the clutch on the Gnar. Griffin got greedy. Like you say, they could have just plopped the Rift Herald. There was no interrupt up as Cuvée was in mini Gnar form and either taken the turret or gotten it very low. They put trust in the kill, but they can't get him into execution range. If the first Q hits, I believe, the ult which had already been cast, there would have been enough damage done, but with the transformation, he's not in 20% range. The ult doesn't come off, and through the Shen ultimate, the Urgot goes down.
That's a real feels bad moment. Even the Glacial Prison on the backside of that, where it's just, okay, the dive went super wrong, and now I don't have my really long cooldown ultimate for the Sejuani, one of the main reasons you play her in the jungle for the mid game, and
it just felt rushed because he wasn't exhausted. The Gnar bar was close to full when they started the dive and was cemented quite early. The Q missed on the dive. They still went for it because they had the ignite from the unsealed spellbook. They were already in a really comfortable spot. There was no need to rush, but the rush means a bit of an item lead here for Cuvée as bot lane. Viper's just going in for a trade.
The CS still pretty much exactly even. The Ruler just 5 ahead down in the bottom side, and we'll see if he can carry. You know, he had that one moment on the Xayah in game number 3. He'll also get his moment to shine in this one.
Small note about the bot lane, we wondered what Ruler would do when it came to actually finding a lifesteal item to trade. What instead we're seeing is, went Stormrazor, notice it's not going for Fleet Footwork, it is the lethal tempo for max damage, try to kill an Urgot in a team fight. We're just seeing Predator used off cooldown to half health Ruler and try to keep him away from being in an offensive position. Speaking of offensive position, Haru is walking up and just trying to add any pressure they can. About a 10 CS lead here for Ruler.
I like Haru going down, just clearing it out. He doesn't have to, dive them or even gank them to put pressure. It's just a small trip down to the bot lane, saying hello, saying, hey, remember me? Haven't been on the map too much, but I still exist. Now they're looking for a play onto Chovy. Maybe we can bait him on in. Haru just waiting. It's not going to come through.
Rift Herald again claimed by Griffin, as we know, ages ago now. Where will it be used? Could be used topside. A lot happening here. They're going for the bot lane dive.
4 on 2. The dodge circle is already used.
Nice
the engage there from CoreJJ. Not going to be on point. Has to get out of this one. Lahens does go down, but the TP on the backside means it's only going to be 1 kill. Meanwhile, up on the top side, though, Griffin have the push.
That's right. They put down the Rift Herald. They teleport a bot lane to stop the turret going down as fast. I don't know if they can repel 2v4. Your first thought is no. Here we go. They're trying to hold the turret.
Okay, everything missed here by Crown, and also CoreJJ pretty low. Finally hits a Panel Star onto Viper, and still the Rift Herald pushes. This is much better right now for Griffin, but Viper gets super low. The flash on him from Crown also picks up a heal. Is it going to be enough? No, the life steal comes out. And it goes down. Crown going too deep, and Griffin are going to capitalize. The push is still going in the top lane.
Game 5s are about moments. The timing on the ult from Lahens was perfect. Sniped out of the air was the Zoe. Crown thought he had enough damage to kill. He did not. And it's a third charge from Shelly.
Oh boy, that's not what you want to see, Gen G. It was their moment to be impatient, their moment to go too far, and perfect play out of Griffin to stop it. Now they're trying to run away with this one. They're going to catch Haru in the mid lane too, just randomly farming, and another kill to the board.
A macro moment for Griffin after 2 macro victories for Gen G in games 2 and 3, and it had to be in the clutch. It had to be the Fairy Tale squad. They get so much topside, they didn't even lose their outer turret bot lane. We're going to get the replay. We were skeptical that Urgot and Vladimir could hold this turret. Crown thought he had the kill when he picked up the flash, healed first, goes in for the damage, but he actually gets the empowered Q heal, the Shen as well, and then Sword snipes him away, and around the world people cheer because the Zoe getting sniped by an Urgot is a feels good man moment for most.
That's the world we live in now, guys. The Urgot coming in and shutting down Zoe.
How is the Urgot the protagonist and the cute skipping Zoe the bad guy? That is just where League of Legends has gotten to.
That's just the edgy riff we're playing on, man. That's the way things go nowadays. And well, it's a huge moment for Griffin. They do get the lead off of the back of that. They're not running away with it just yet, but you already have a kill onto the Yasuo. You get one on the Urgot, who's going to be unbelievably tanky now. And they do have that gold lead, 1,200 ahead. Gonna be pretty happy with their position.
And Chovy's going for the I'm ready to kill you in the mid-game build, already very close to Infinity Edge. Speaking of killing.
Trying to get that play onto Crown here, but there's the trouble bubble, trying to predict it here, but Haru is nearby. They're not gonna dive the turret.
All right, Griffin, deep breaths, you back away. Griffin got the lead from that play, and now the top side is a very, very long lane as the charge onto the inhibitor turret is going to be very difficult to return to. Urgot can't really push out Gnar for 3 minion waves and then take a turret. That's not how it goes. So still is a nice immediate injection of gold into the game. QSS from Cuvée as a second item, not an ideal one either. Knows that Sejuani has set a tent up top side and doesn't want to deal with that. But we're ready to pivot now that Chovy almost has an Infinity Edge and start playing a group game all through the lane with that Yasuo. They clear out the ward put down earlier. It's another Cloud Drake, so it's one Tarzan could afford to give up.
Yeah, no suicide missions into the pit for that one. Griffin haven't been prioritizing the Dragons all night long. It's 13-2 in favor of Gen G. Tarzan just trying to make a play once again here, but Good vision control. You take a look at the map. Gen G have 4 control wards down in great places. They may not have seen Tarzan come in, but cleanse on Crown, he should be okay.
And Gen G just have a very Korean macro setup, which is what Gen G are known for, right? Slow and steady, put down your control wards, take what's owed to you because you've had vision for so long. But I think the best of Griffin, and why I'm so happy to see them on a CC bot laner and a CC jungler, is that I think they do play the hybrid style that the LPL uses, much more towards that side. They do like games like this where, well, we don't have any wards down, but if Sejuani and Yasuo show up, you get the hell out of there, whether you see them next to you or you see them in vision. And that is the LPL style. I think that is what is the best way to play League of Legends right now is we got these items that it doesn't matter if you see us coming, we're still taking your lunch money. Yeah. You're announcing it to, hey, we're coming for that. And that is what Griffin can do when they've got early power spikes like a Vladimir, when they've got CC on their jungler and their support. And now Gen G are going to see them coming a mile away, but they're going to keep going towards their Nexus and keep watching Griffin get leads.
It's definitely the name of the game. Ruler down here up against Sword. He can just shell away at Sword. Sword's not going to take any damage, but he knows it's 1-on-3, so he has to give up that turret. Nice little play by Gen G. Griffin elsewhere on the map. Tarzan was up top, and Chovy was back in the base. So good timing there by Gen G to make it all work.
I think the Yasuo was definitely the reason here. Getting that Yasuo has been so nice for the side of Griffin. Still, Yasuo's got his items. He doesn't have a stopwatch yet, but that's kind of the core. Then he just starts popping off. Maybe QSS. We'll wait and see. The decision there. Without a true marksman, A-ramming is not the happiest time for Griffin, as we can see. We're very zoomed out here. They want to pick and then a free mid lane turret. Crown has no idea where they are.
Yeah. Well, let's just space check a little bit.
They know where they are now.
Okay, well, Crown's going to eat it right there. It does have the cleanse. Will we have the counter engage? The TP is coming in. The knockup on Alehans. It does get canceled, actually, but still will go down. Tarzan, as he got a little bit too close, trying to go a little bit farther. There it is, the Sleepy Trouble Bubble onto the Shen. Do they have a follow-up? It's a lot of damage out of Zoe. There's the pillar, and down he will go. 2 for 0. Goes over to Gen G.
And does that mean Baron is the question that Gen G might have to pose to Griffin? Really nice interrupt by Cuvée. Didn't know where his Mega Gnar bar was at. You definitely start the Baron here. Tarzan's dead, but Chovy is lurking.
Ooh, no Vladimir ultimate right now, but Chovy, can he do it himself? The TP
early
comes in here from Sword. Crown on the opposite side picks up an exhaust right now. It's perfect for them up against the Yasuo. Just trying to do the damage to this Baron. It's going to be incredibly close. Sword over the wall, just trying to poke. Here comes Shen into that backline. Gen G, they're so low, but the exhaust is there. Toby's trying to go deep. Sword gets the kill on Haru, and there it is. The smite comes out from Urgot, and 2 kills onto Yasuo. Griffin, they push it in. They get the kills and the Baron.
Sword got the smite from the unsealed spellbook, killed the Trundle and smite, and he just did everything.
There it is. There's the man on your screen. He did it all by himself, had his buddies by his side, but Gen G, they make that crucial shot call. They go for the Baron. It does not pay off. Even the Shen came in alongside the Urgot. Sword, he performs, he does everything, and now Griffin are massively far ahead.
And people say, why unsealed spellbook on the Urgot? Because if it goes right, you do literally everything. He changes to it, and he's able to come into the fight with Alehans. It's a 4v5. He comes in, takes down the enemy jungler. Wait for that smite. My name's Urgot. I only do everything. What a play here for a Sword. That is how you want to go on to the next round. Literally carrying your team on your back.
The rest of them were routed. Chovy just picking up the pieces, but it really was all Sword. Gets the ultimate onto Haru, makes him useless, pushes everybody else out with the fear, smites the Baron by himself, and there you have it, guys. We have our MVP for Game 5 already.
This guy has been criticized the whole way through. Who was the weakest member in Challenger? Radha or Sword was the answer. Most people would say Sword. Chovy now the starting mid laner, and after the Aatrox was OP meta, fell away. Didn't look great in the season, but I think some of that was the incessant Cho'Gath drafting, even when it didn't work for the team. It was in a lot of lose-lose scenarios. In a moment like that, when you need your name to be one that is sung rather than one that is forgotten, The Griffin fans will be singing Sword's name tonight. What a play from him, and a great set piece once again by Griffin.
It's going to be one to remember for quite a while. What if Griffin from this go on to Worlds and, you know, get a very top finish, maybe even win the whole thing? I don't want to say that's going to happen, but we would go back to this moment and say, remember Game 5 against Gen G when Sword went in there and was the MVP? It's moments like this that bring your team into Worlds.
They will have to beat Kingzone, and they still have to close the door on Gen G. But if you guys are fuzzy on how it worked, he teleported in, then waited. You saw he was waiting next to the boss man for a while. He was waiting for both Lehen's ultimate and the 3, 4, 5 seconds of the lockout on the unsealed spellbook to change it to the smite. Yeah. Came over, was able to get the kill and the smite. Removed the smite, had his own. That is definitely DIY winning a best of 5 coming through from Sword. They don't have the world's best siege, so there's still a chance that Gen G can delay this game.
You notice Tarzan waiting in the wings. They do have some really nice dive if everything comes together, but again, can get risky. You don't want to go too fast, too furious. Either way, the slow push with that Baron is coming on in. Lehen's trying to control up against Core JJ in the middle of the push from Viper over to the right side. Sword by himself up against Gnar in the mid lane.
It's not getting much though. Again, their siege is very, very poor on the side of Griffin.
Just a little bit of damage here. Mostly just cannon minions that are Baroned up, doing the damage. They do it, albeit slowly.
10 seconds left though, so slowly but surely doesn't lead to the base being broken. It's close, but no cigar.
That it is. But that fight that they had, sure, Sword was the MVP. Who benefited the most off of that? Chovy, he just picked up a Guardian Angel after that. He picked up the scraps because he got 2 free kills from people running away from Urgot. And that means now, yeah, Chovy wasn't the carry of that fight, but how about the next fight or the one after that? This guy is going to be shredding people. Zoe is not going to survive. Not just Zoe, even Haru on the Trundle might be pretty weak at that point. The Rakan certainly not going to survive. Look at that. Look at that graph there at 21 minutes.
But do notice the scale. Notice the scale was very small. This is not a titanic, unmanageable lead. It's actually 4,500 gold. So it went from 0 to about 5K, not a 10,000 gold lead. So scale is important, but definitely all because of the one Baron play. Regardless of everything we said and the obvious excitement about Griffin now being very close to a Game 5 victory, there still is their poor siege. They're needing another Baron, most likely to break the base. And also, there's definitely 5 people reared up to be an equal match winner on the side of Gen G. Crown will be kicking himself for some of the plays earlier. Gen G, there's always the chance that someone answers. This is a team that has won the gauntlet twice in a row and wants to proudly defend the World Championship in Korea. What an honor that would be to defend the crown. If they were to win Worlds in Korea for the back-to-back victory and to defend it in their home country, that'd be so big for a Gen G team that is still fighting for the recognition of the fans when it comes to famous big orgs here. They do lag behind SKT, Kingzone, KT when it comes to fan bases. Griffin still building one of theirs. They're in a great spot, but until we see that next explode, we're not going to sing just yet.
We got to wait, and then there's one more step for either of these teams. Kingzone watching very, very closely on this series. You have to imagine back at the team house, the analysts doing their analysis, team members discussing with the coach, what are we going to do up against whatever team comes in. It's going to be hard. I feel like Gen G have proven that they deserve to be on the same level as all the other teams in the gauntlet. And Griffin also proving now that they're not going to go down without a fight up against Gen G. I mean, they made it all the way to the LCK finals, just one game away from winning the entire thing. So super competitive up at the top here in LCK. That's the way it's been all summer long amongst the weird metas and everything else, but doesn't change the fact that we have 4, 5 teams that are right up there towards the top.
If you're asked to kind of disseminate what we saw over the case of LCK Summer, is there a word better, especially with KT winning, than excitement? There's been so much happening. There hasn't been agreement in metas. There have been people trying different stuff. If you think about it, storyline this much earlier, as it's just Tarzan clearing a blast plant, was awesome dude carry team versus 80 carry team, and now that feels like just a long time ago that actually had to be something to talk about, and yet in Game 5 it comes back to that, which is just so cool. It's been a very memorable LCK summer. And another 5 games with King Zone, that's all I ask for. Whoever the victor is, it's going to be hard for.
That's the dream. Get us 15 games in the gauntlet. Here's the Baron, though. It's a big one. Griffin, if they get it, they could win the game. Gen G, that's their ticket back.
Also remember, it's not just a ticket, it's a big ticket because there's no wave clear on the side of Griffin, really. So it's the sort of Baron buff that feels guaranteed. Rubber stamp to take turrets. It's Cuvée taking a lot of damage, but he's dealing out some too.
This is a huge fight. If Sword goes down here, he's not going to be there for the Baron fight. Here comes Viper, though, the shield in effect, and can he do the damage? Shen as well, trying to jump on in. This is 3 people to kill the Gnar. Is able to QSS his way out of that one, but is still going to go down. No Baron, though, for Gen G. It's enough.
But this is what Shen can do. He can join instantly, and the Vladimir runs down. Gen G do not try the Baron. They don't have the tankiness to do it with their remaining members. So they back away, they end up just losing a member. It started so well for Cuvée, but it ended so well for Griffin.
Not sure exactly how the fight started, but it does paint a picture for this Gnar who's building a lot of offensive items. Can he just go 1v1 against Urgot in the future? Hold the phone, though. We got the Baron started here. Cuvée, he's still dead.
20 seconds, he can teleport in. Doesn't take that long to kill it. Seems like they're brute forcing it, though, Tarzan. He's in trouble, but he could just go down, though.
That's okay. They're going to knock up Haru, though. Down he might go. The Locket comes in. Nice double knock up there by the Rakan. The 4-man charm as well. Toby getting so low. There's his Guardian Angel. Viper coming in. And they're from the back. Sword is here to carry his team again. Core JJ is going to have to hop away, and Tarzan is going to go down the ruler. It's his time to shine now as the slows come in from Cuvée. Looks like Lahens is gonna be the sacrifice. Cuvée, he wants more though. Coming on in. Can he land the ultimate? Or did he bite off more than he could chew? No, he's gonna take out Vladimir, and he's looking at Sword too. Will he go for it? The answer is no.
It's almost a full ace coming through from Gen G. This is what happens when you have the marksman in the end of the game. You can pull off the team fights. They're gonna get a Baron from this, certainly, and this series lives on.
This is unbelievable, guys. 30 minutes into the game, Gen G, they're down 5,000 gold and they win a fight. They're gonna get a Baron too and a Baron power play. They've only taken out 1 turret as well. Gen G, the world champions, they are not going down without a fight.
This is the strength of a world championship team as you hear the big cheers from the Gen G side. In the clutch, after a year of not looking like world champions, it was almost ironic title in regular season. They are coming back raring to go. It looked like it was set up to be successful. Great win wall comes through. And then look at the teleport coming in. How is he always there, Sword? He's definitely the hardest done by if they can't win this game. It's a great flank, but it's so hard to have threat on ruler when you don't fight in areas that are open where you have wards. In this case, the control ward's the real MVP. They lose so much damage. They're so low when they get the first kill that eventually Cuvée can chase to the tune of a Baron on the side of Gen G. And remember, the wave clear on the side of Griffin is situational at best.
That it is. Core JJ also fantastic counter engage to bring that fight back into their hands before the Urgot did come. They're looking though for the Gnar. Did he make a mistake this time around? Cuvée. Uh-oh, that's not what you want to see with Baron buff and no wave clear on the side of Griffin. He throws away his life and his Baron.
Cuvée giveth, Cuvée taketh away. It's not a small thing like you're alluding to. We talked about how set up this Baron was to be. That's ARAM and cool wave clear. I'll take that turret free inhibitor. It wouldn't have ended the game, but it would have gotten them a big foothold into what has been largely Griffin dominated post 20 minutes. So Cuvée going down, the Yasuo working on Sterix. First Ocean Drake of the game. Not even going to be relevant, but it does depower an Elder Drake. Here we go. Again, we take a breath. How many more moments will decide this game? Will it be a pick? Will it be a team fight? I think a team fight would definitely be the biggest calling card of these two teams who have both prided themselves on team fights. And at this point, you feel really bad for Sword if they can't win, because I don't think an Urgot could do any more than what we've seen in the first 30 minutes.
Swordman, he wants to be well known as one of the guys who's able to try to take this win for his team. Gen G, though, 4 members still with Baron, and couple of guys that did go back. They're going to take one turret. That means that the gold lead is only 3,000 as we do get along. Sure, Vladimir's going to be crazy late game. The Yasuo will as well. But how about the Xayah in the late game as well as that Gnar? Can Ruler actually carry this back?
I think we should take a moment now, we haven't really talked about previously, to note that only now the 4th item is finished for Vladimir. Has a bit of a cheaper build than Xayah. And crucially, his first 3 items were defensive and utility. It wasn't quite Proto Belt, but it was Spellbinder, Banshee Veil, Zhonya. So it was actually a very low damage Vladimir, who was supposed to be counterbalanced by a very high damage Yasuo. But if none of that threat is on to Ruler, pretty much no damage is going his way. The Void Staff will help for certain, but the Vladimir true kind of teamfight damage threat has been back-ended. It's probably going to be a last item death cap before it really truly starts to be teamfight impacting. So it's something small to note, and it's been such a small detail that we haven't gotten to it in the first 35.
He'll most likely be working towards a death cap next, so this item into that one, it's going to be a Vladimir that could even just one combo Ruler if he's not able to get any lifesteal in. It's coming down to this, guys, down to the wire in Game 5. You see the gold graph is getting a lot closer to that 0 line now.
Do know Urgot is pushing with no vision, so he has to back away. Won't be going any further. We're getting to 6 items, so the vision is being removed. Note that Gen G actually has a lot of control wards in the inventory, and Griffin have basically none, just the one onto the Vladimir. That does mean that Crown and Haru kind of have 2 very situational items. They have double stopwatch, very useful in a team fight, and ward stacks. So I think Gen G are going to be a bit more patient. They're very much about, let's take our time and use a vision advantage for a pick rather than pure battle stats, because they do have less of those.
You're talking about that one control ward. There it goes. Up in the top side in that brush. And now they do not have much vision of that river.
Crown does have a very interesting build for Zoe. We've seen a lot of double stopwatch builds where you do this if you don't use your perfect timing. You can actually rebuy it and then have both the stopwatch and the Zhonyas for 5 seconds of stasis. You think Kassadin, you think Swain, you don't really think Zoe, but you can take an aggressive portal jump that looks like an int and turn it into 5 seconds of baiting with double stopwatch. So we'll wait and see if Crown can make the big play. He'll still be frustrated about that dive went wrong in the 4v2 bot side. Maybe there's a 5-second stasis play that can send the victory to Gen G.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, too, because Griffin, they got to look in the items and actually call that out. And who knows, in the heat of the moment, are they going to recognize that? Are they going to respect that? It's going to be perfect. You mentioned baiting plays. That's something that Gnar loves to do, hop into the back line and ult 4 people after everybody groups up to try to kill the Zoe. So we'll see.
Halfway there when it comes to AP purchases. Just a bit of visual lag, guys. Don't worry about that, although I'm sure some people are having flashbacks to the podcast a few days ago. Watching here, all about blue buff control. Pretty low value blue buff to Griffin, so they could give this up.
Crown in the face of danger, not scared. He has cleanse. He has so many different buttons he's got to press on that Zoe. It's not an easy task.
Good news, all the buttons are up summoners-wise as well, so plenty to play by play in who knows how long. Again, table setting. Elder Drake, equal value, no Infernals, no Mountains, so just about the 2-stack Elder, Baron buff. It's almost 40 minutes, so it's almost a full-powered Baron coming through around the 38-minute mark. Again, the control ward and vision advantage around the pit is what Gen G will be granted with all the control wards they've had. They can take a shot now knowing they have a lot of control vision down and a lot of room to take a decent back and be there for the fight.
Take a look at the golds here. Looks like Yasuo actually had the most in the game. He has the most kills as well as... Okay, let's take another look.
Feels bad. 2,200 gold disadvantage with the Zoe, so it's 3 items in a stopwatch. So really, it's about bait and whether a trouble bubble can open up with Ruler killing someone. Very low threat coming through from both the opening burst salvo and even just the skipping around W passive from the Zoe. So Griffin continue to look around, continue here, waiting to see if Gen G can get a pick. Our first one forward.
Oh, they're starting it.
Yep. Well, the Urgot's splitting, so they want to make something happen.
Yep, they have the vision on it. They know this is started now. The nice sleepy
Slow
trouble
down.
bubble onto Viper. Will they have enough damage? He's actually going to zone Viper entirely out, but look at this wombo combo. The Hen's getting way too deep at Tarzan. He's going to go down too. Just at the end, gets stomped in the face, but Sword able to take out QV. 4-3 right now. Sword hopping forward, and he's not able to get over the wall. He's going to get sleeped up too is Chovy, and he might be able to go down here. Viper nowhere to be seen. He's just running away. As Chovy himself trying to take them all out. The knockup is not on time actually, but the sleepy trouble bubble is there. Double kill to Ruler, and it looks like Gen G are going to get that Baron.
They won't be able to close the game from this if they go for Baron. Instead, they're actually backing one member, the Zoe here. Viper couldn't find a way in. There seemed to be a split call because he had it multiple times. He could have tried to go in with everything up. He chose not to after being zoned out by the Zoe. All he is going to get is an inhibitor turret. And you better hope he finds a better spot to pick up a kill because there's a second Baron buff coming the way, and then no ability to wave clear from this side of Griffin is going to need to be overcome by the right engage, and it might be against Elder and Baron. So we talk about what happened here. Crown just runs at Vlad, and we already said it's super low damage from Crown, so actually this is a great trade of resources. You're happy with Zoe being out of the fight. In the fight, Core JJ runs all over the back line. Sword is a bouncer with Chovy, and they do get away QV, but then these two walk up to try to control, and Vlad never walks with them, and that disagreement ends up losing them the maximum. All the buffs are there, and now it's get the right engage or lose for Griffin.
KT's not in the game, but it feels like a roller coaster. It's back and forth in the best of 5, down to game 5, and I feel like it's changed hands over and over again as Griffin looked good at one point, Gen G looked fantastic now, obviously. 2 minutes 30 on Elder and Baron respectively. Now is the time for Gen G to push in and get some massive objectives. No more mistakes from QV. He already had that mistake card. It's out of it now. He has his teleport, and now is their moment to go in and try to win the game.
Big advantage in flashes on the side of Gen G as well. 2 down, but 3 up. Meanwhile, most used by the side of Griffin. Viper, as we know, held on to everything, didn't go into his fight, but this is the time.
Oh, Crown goes forward. He's got 5 minutes of stasis, but will it matter? Look at the wombo from the Vlad, and Chovy gets on in there. The fear takes down 2. Crown is too low, but look at Ruler. He's able to take out 2, and QV gets the ultimate on in. Chovy disappears, and it looks like Gen G may have to stun it. Ruler is alive. It may just be the ace, as only Viper is left. 2 kills will do it, and Ruler knows it as well.
Ruler could keep space through all of the flashy ultimates. They had no threat onto the Guardian Angels. Neither are popped, and the Griffin fairy tale ends today.
Gen G, they're doing it again. The gauntlet magic comes in. Ruler, he knows he did it for his team. Fantastic play at the end there. Game 5 goes to Gen G. We will have them face off against Kingzone.
The world champions are running the gauntlet again. Ruler cries. Actually, he's just probably crying because of all the stress and all the build-up of what has been a really long best of 5, 4.5 hours with no pauses. QV is his usual non-moved self, but Gen G are doing it again. That regional gauntlet magic cannot be denied, and it actually trumps the fairy tale magic of Griffin. They come away with a lot of respect, but could not win LCK. They will not go to the World Championships in Korea. Meanwhile, on the side of Gen G, they have a favored historical matchup against Kingzone, and Kingzone are not checking themselves before that all-important final best of 5 in 2 days.
Ruler overwhelmed for a moment there, but he is the one left standing. He knows. You talk about the relief, the stress. He finally does it in the end. This time it's the winning player that's crying or trying to hold back tears at this moment in time. He definitely deserves it. We were talking about, is he going to be the carry at the end of the game? He absolutely was. It was a perfectly played team fight.
And the only mentions of Ruler among the community in the last 2 months have been those times he threw the underperformance at Asia Games. You know he reads that stuff or has people tell him about what people are saying. Same guy that won MVP of the World Final a year ago. Gen G are close, 1 best of 5 from going back to the World Championships. Spare a thought for Griffin, who have had a wonderful year. They were able to rampage through Challenger and came oh so close to making it both to Worlds and winning LCK. They will not be able to make it any further. They have so much to build upon. But sadly, Valdez, the cruelest is that the young players now have a whole lot of time to think about the what-ifs because their vacation starts tonight.
This is a replay for the ages. They get the Baron, the push, and Crown, we talked about the bait. There it was, and Ruler totally safe the entire time.
I don't believe the Hemo play hit Ruler. It did not. He doesn't even lose his overshield. He was just exhausted at the start of the fight. And when that wombo doesn't lead to deletions, when Chovy can't cut them down in the first round, Ruler's there to do it. This is why the awesome dude meta died, is because the marksman eventually reigns supreme. This is quintessential eventually. Wonderful team fight from Gen G.
Unbelievable story for Gen G. Once again, that's a damage graph. You'll say, hey, look at this, coach. That's the reason I only play 80 carries. 37,000 for Ruler as he crushes the opposition. Gen G and Griffin, mistakes made on both sides in Game 5, but unbelievable, really memorable plays. Don't forget about Sword and his Urgot. Don't forget about Ruler and his Xayah. We'll all remember those for a very, very long time to come. And wow, what a treat to get two best-of-5s that go to Game 5 and to have games like that.
I will never forget the 2018 regional goal, and that's before we have the third best-of-5. We will have a returning team. Either Gen G or Kingzone will return to Worlds to join KT and Afrika, already qualified. We will get some words. I see Haru and Cuve up there for the interview. I think it's probably a good idea to give Ruler a little bit of time to compose himself.
Would definitely agree. Can't wait to hear what they have to say. I'm going to throw it over to Ji-sun for the translation. Let's hear it.
You guys, and this is Susan with today's interview translation. Here we are joined by Haru and Kyube from Gen G Esports, the main characters of today's match. Congratulations. Thank you. It was a long match. How do you guys feel?
이제 5판 연속으로 했는데
5 full set games in 2 games in a row. It's my first experience.
그래서 좀 집중력을 도중에 잃기도 하고
I kind of lost my focus during the games,
다 정신 되찾고 이제
but at the end I was able to concentrate fully and I was able to pick up good results.
그 집중력을 다시 되찾는다는 게 참 어렵잖아요.
I think that was the key for today's victory. How are you able to manage the concentration?
많이 주고받은 것 같아요.
I think we fully focused on having communication between the players.
큐베 선수도 오늘 정말
큐베.
묵직하게
You were a very strong top laner in top lane.
이제 비록 한 경기 남았지만
We still got one game left, but I'm really happy that we are in a really good vibe right now.
사실 오늘 이제 SK텔레콤 T1을 이긴 후에 2라운드잖아요.
Well, actually today, the second round,
있다는 얘기를 좀
I heard that you guys were quite confident,
가게 됐습니다.
but 5 games is not easy, right?
일단 제 입장에서는 타잔 선수가
Well, for
굉장히
me,
좀 잘한다고 생각했거든요. 그래서
I was really aware of Tarzan because I thought he was a really good jungler.
좀 안정적이고 좀 잘한다고 생각해서 그렇게 막
I think his,
것 같아요.
but at the same time, I think I am a very stable player, so I felt quite confident.
그러셨군요. 아무래도 요즘에 정글러에 대한 이런 관심들이 좀 높아지는
But recently,
것 같습니다. 아무래도 최근 메타에서는
people are saying that the most important position is jungle.
정글러잖아요. 정글러의
Does that kind of adds you more pressure on your shoulders?
부담보다는
Well, not like a pressure,
실수만 안 하면 조금
but I feel like if I just don't make any mistakes, I have the power to kind of extend the game.
부담은 안 되는 것 같아요.
So it's not a pressure at all.
주도권 가져오는 것이 더 쉬워진다. 자신의 좀 역할이 크지만은 부담은 안 가지시나 봐요.
I guess you are quite confident.
팀원들이 그래도 잘해주니까.
Well, all my players are doing so well.
주도권을 잡아.
So in the late game, I think we are always very easy to win the games.
서로에게 좀 있는 것 같은데 그 믿음을 좀 가장 또 크게 줬던 것이 오늘 메가나르로
네, 큐베.
큐베 선수가 아닌가.
I think you
하는
just
생각이
dominated
들었어요.
the game on NAR. Game 5.
계속해서 이제 아트록스로 뭐 이렇게 플레이를 좀
Well,
하시다가 결국에는
you play
자신의
Aatrox
볼을
and
만들려고
then
메가나를 꺼내신 것
your
같아요.
champion,
아트를 꺼내신
Nar,
것
came
같은데
out.
오늘 플레이하시면서 어떠셨나요?
So how was today's game?
저는 그냥 제 할 것만
I think I was just doing my
생각했어요.
role.
그냥 그 정도인가요?
Is that it?
저는 그 정도라 생각해요.
Yeah, that's it.
그 사실 근데 할 정도를 넘어서서
I think
잘하셨어요.
you
오늘.
overperformed, like above your level.
저는 이제 다른
It was a
사람들
super
그럴 수
play.
있지만
Other people might say so, but in my standard, I just did my role. I just did my job.
멋집니다. 이게 나올 수가 없는 장면이라고 생각을 했었는데 사실 초반에 그 5세트 마지막
The game
그 세트가 좀
5.
기억이 날 것 같아서 초반 탑 싸움에서도 2대1
There was an early turret dive,
미드에서도
and also in the mid lane team fight, you just went in fight 2v1. Were you confident?
상대 쪽에서 다이브를 좀 안 해야 되는 상황에서 제가 이제
Well,
타이밍이라서
Speaking of that moment, it wasn't a good time for Griffin players to try diving me.
급해져가지고 좀 무리하지 않았나 저는 그렇게 생각해요.
I think the players were a little bit rushing, so I was able to pick up the kill over there.
장면들을 또 만들어내면서 기세를 다시 한번 탑 쪽에서 가지고 오는 멋진 활약을 해주셨습니다.
I think that was the momentum for
네.
Genji. Please give it a warm round of applause for Cube.
치고 싶은데 언제 쳐야 될지 팬분들이 오히려 좀 걱정을 하시는 것 같아요. 결국에는 진짜 가을의 그 젠지,
Genji
선발전의
of the
제방,
fall.
그 이름을 오늘 또 한 번 증명을 해내셨고 결국에 최종전까지
You guys
됐습니다.
all
이제
once
킹존
again
드래곤
proven
X를
yourself
만나게
here.
됩니다. 킹존 드래곤
And your last
X를
opponent will be
대하는,
Kingdom Dragon X,
진짜 각오 좀
waiting
들어보고
at a higher
보여주실게요.
seed. Is there any last message you would like to say?
1라운드 전부터 이제 지금 2라운드까지
So
이겼는데
since the first round and it's the second round, we have been picking up consecutive victories.
킹존까지 이겨버리겠습니다.
I hope we can remain this flow and take down Kingzone.
우리 큐베 선수도요.
And Cube,
비록 킹존이 강한 팀이긴 하지만 저희도
even though
이
Kingzone is a
기세를
strong
이용해서
team, but we are
자신감
really in a
있게
good move.
저희가 좀 승리할 수 있지 않을까 그런
So I'm
기대를
kind of,
가져보겠습니다.
네,
I kind of have the
좋습니다.
confidence that will be able to pick up victory
가장
against
중요한 것은
Kingzone.
기세라고들 하잖아요. 이 기세 그대로 이어가서
Yeah, I agree.
앞으로 열리는
The confidence is the
최종전에서도
key
좋은
for
모습
picking up the
기대하도록
victory.
하겠습니다.
So
다시 한번
it
오늘의
was
승리
another
축하드립니다.
very extended and
고맙습니다.
intensive series for today, and I will pass it back to our casters to wrap up today's series. Thank you.
Well, there you have it, guys. Down to 5 games once again. The last game is the longest, as it always seems to be. And man, those guys, they played their hearts out. We were so close to counting them out after Griffin got a huge lead in game number 5, and the awesome dude composition looked good. But in the end of the day, Genji were the better team, the second team to take out Griffin in a best of 5. They're going to be going up against Kingzone in 2 days. That's going to determine what team is going to be going to Worlds alongside Afrika and KT. I feel like both of them deserve to. I feel like Genji played their hearts out tonight, and they're actually really, really good. I think they deserve more fans. That was some really fun games at the end as well. Kingzone, we'll see what their current form is as well. We haven't seen them in so long.
Death, Taxes, and Kingzone Dragon X losing to Genji this year, though. Almost every turn, Genji and KSV have been too good for Kingzone, but someone else did the favor. You can do the favor of getting off the camera. Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? Someone else did the favor, and that ended up, of course, really allowing Kingzone to avoid the Genji matchup. Now in the clutch, the weird thing is, we weren't supposed to have KT versus Genji again, and yet Kingzone are kind of in KT's shoes, where this is the moment where actually history doesn't work for them. They've had a lot of time to be on the sidelines, but Genji have played 10 games. They've only gone 6-4 in those 10, but they've also fought through a lot of adversity. So at the end of the day, it's so hard to equate, but maybe you give that small advantage to Genji.
It's hard, but, you know, these guys are so good at playing best of 5 specifically, right? In the regular season, they were in 4th place behind so many of those other top teams, just ahead of Afrika, who eventually turned out to be pretty awesome as well. And then we get to the best of 5 stage. They make a couple of mistakes. I feel like if they were more consistent, then maybe they go on to Worlds and they have another really fantastic run, but things are worrying. I feel like in some of those games where, you know, Crown in Game 4 just looked lost, and Cube just running on in and dying in Game 5. some of these mistakes, if they're cleaner, I feel like they absolutely would be the favorites up against King's.
But let's kind of put a bow on top of Griffin, whose year does end here. That's the end of their competition. They're definitely going to be the team with this long break to think, why did we lose to Jin Air in that series that seemed so straightforward for them and not get to 14 match wins? They had the inside track. They just need to beat bottom teams to be the #1 team instead in that pack, and ended up being, of course, overall second behind KT Rolster, so kind of gave up that thing. Why didn't we win Game 4 against KT, where we had a very big lead and compositionally looked set up to win? You think of this series, some of the drafts over the course of this year, and even this series where they returned to what didn't work, and those are kind of the rough points on what has been an unbelievable year. This should not cloud what has been the most meteoric rise, I would still say, in League of Legends history, given where the scene is at in 2018. But at the end of the day, those rough edges was just enough in the clutch to stop them making Worlds and to stop them being LCK champions.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a pity for sure. I know a lot of people wanted to see Griffin at Worlds, but they fix up their act for next year. Maybe they're the team for 2019, who knows. But guys, that's going to do it for us. We'll see you on Sunday. Gen G up against Kingzone. Should be a blast. See you then.